time to do some sketchy shit. Doo-dah, doo-dah, hope I get away with it. Oh, doo-dah, day.
Well, it'd probably work better if I added myself to the screen. Considering I just spent the last 90 minutes with Joe Dog and no one else. Welcome to Last Man Standing. This is probably going to be one of the shorter shows I've ever done. I have absolutely no guest panelists tonight, and that's okay because they are all recovering from conventions they just went to, or special events that they were involved with, or family stuff, or health stuff. And it's not like we're required to do this to start with. We just do it for fun. So, uh, let me play an advert here just to give people time to uh, realize that, hey, matter of fact, I'll run two. It'll give us about 2.5 minutes or thereabouts. And if no one pops in, then I'll come back in, blather on for a few minutes, and then run the end credits and go to bed. No big deal. There's always Saturday night. So here we go. Yeah, that's a good one. Hello, I'm Dan Hollifield. I'm the senior editor and publisher of Aphelion Webzine, the world's oldest free creative writing e-zine since 1997. Since then, we have helped over 500 amateur writers learn what they needed to turn pro. www.aphelion-webzine.com and read not only what we've got going on right now, but 28 years worth of our archives of stories. Thank you very much. And right after that, let's advertise my sci-fi novelette, which has a sequel that I think might get published sometime soon, but don't ask me when. I wish it would. It's not a sequel, it's a prequel. It explains how uh, my main character in this particular story winds up running away from his home on a Kentucky farm and eventually becomes a fighter pilot in the Korean War and then gets drafted by the CIA and has lots of adventures. And then finally, at the beginning of this particular story, has a fender bender with a flying saucer that was inconsiderately parked all the way across the road. He was doing 70 miles an hour around in the dark. But that is the germ of the story, not the entire story. Now, for any idiot that intends to hit me up with a copyright strike for the music for the intro, the outro, or the adverts, I own the copyright to the music. I wrote it. You're out of luck. Uh, the artwork in that particular ad for Abducted, there were two images done by my late friend Laura Butler. I miss her immensely. She was a tremendous talent. And the rest I did in the computer. One of the images towards the end was a um, not a watercolor. It was something I did with almost dried up magic markers that I had used 20 years previously. Just found the ones that worked and went ahead and did the drawing. Um, but I own the copyright to that too, except for Laura's work, which her family owns the copyright to. And she had signed over the copyright to those images for me to use in the original publication of Aphelion. The original publication of Abducted in Aphelion back in the late 1990s. Um, as I said, I miss her greatly. She was a tremendous talent, and she is still to this day sorely missed by everyone that ever knew her. Um, let's see, that takes care of almost everything I've got to say by myself. Uh, but let's see, comments. Oh, uh, Kitty is here. Hello, Kitty. She has a story in Aphelion this month, and believe me, it took very little editing, and it was a very excellent story. Go to Aphelion and read all the short stories. There are at least 6 indie CD writers with stories in this issue, and there are 11 stories in the short story section in this issue. There are more flash fiction, there are more poems. Let's see, I think the long fiction section was a repeat from last month, but that's because it takes longer for people to write long fiction than it does to write short stories. Uh, our Sterling Esquire is here. And yeah, I'm sorry, it's going to be a short show. Uh, Joe Dog popped in, spent 90 minutes with just me. That must have been pure hell. No, it wasn't that bad. I mean, I've known you for a long, long time. It was bearable. And uh, thankfully, I am dyslexic, so I understand what Joe Dog said with that statement. I will leave it to everyone's imagination. Now, I don't know exactly how long I could monologue without boring everybody to tears, but let's just see what I can do without violating any rules or having to green room myself or boring people unduly. I mean, I don't mind boring people duly because they're do it, but you know, when it gets in excess, I kind of wish I'd kept my mouth shut and just not done the show. But no, it's okay. It's okay. I have fans. They're willing to put up with my foibles. I think I said that word correctly. We have no idea. I'll wait till I actually hear somebody that can say it correctly. I mean, I do get my pronunciation on the Cyberitic corrected by the late great Jerry Furnell one time. He and Larry Niven were in a swimming pool when I went to a convention, and I walked up and I go, "Oh, so this is a cybernetic lifestyle I could get used to if I were a successful science fiction writer." And Jerry goes, "Cyberitic." And I go, "Thank you. I've read the word, but I've never heard anybody actually use it in conversation." There are lots of words like that I have read, have no idea how to pronounce, have never heard anybody say. Um, Part of that is because I tend to read a lot of classic literature and a lot of pulp literature, but no one actually performs that live except perhaps Atlanta Radio Theater Company might do that, and they were some of my favorite folks. I've known their producer for a long, long time. since my college years, in fact, and that's been so long ago that I don't think the calendar will scroll back that far, but they are incredibly talented individuals. They're sort of like who are the folks that uh, do the live readings of stories and whatnot? They get all the internet play. Uh, um, well, I can't remember the name right now, but they're very good. But Atlanta Radio Theater Company is also very good, and I've heard them many a time at conventions. These would be the Chattanooga area conventions or Atlanta area conventions. Atlanta Radio Theater Company, as you may have guessed, is based out of Atlanta, and they do um, full cast audio dramas and horror stories and comedy and whatnot, with special effects being performed live. And they do have um, audio CDs and whatnot that they can sell. I highly recommend you go check them out. They've done very good versions of several H.P. Lovecraft stories, um, several um, Heinlein stories that they've gotten the rights to perform as a live ensemble cast, and some comedy, and it's a multi-talented group. I really enjoy their performances. They are outstanding. So look up the Atlanta Radio Theater Company. They do have a website. Just Google that, and you will get to it. Um, let's see, what can I say? Um, oh, this month's issue of Aphelion is number 300. Uh, that's a milestone for us. It really is. And so far, Aphelion has helped over 500 amateur writers learn what they needed to be able to sell their own work and become professional writers. And some of them, their books may be on your bookshelves without you even knowing it. Um, I'm not going to name drop here because I don't have a script or a list in front of me. I'd have to stand up, turn around, and show you my backside so I could just read the titles on my bookshelf on the wall behind me. So I'm not going to do that as much as Aunt Donna might enjoy me standing up and turning around and showing everybody my backside. So, let's see, where can we go from here? Which is also is that a Styx song or is that Alan Parsons project? I do not remember. Uh, well, I live in the woods. I'm not that drunk. I just kind of, I'm just out here by my wellhouse, doing a live performance. Infrared camera's really good, ain't it? Um, oh, Rob Sterling and I know each other well enough through our exchanges on the comment section of his YouTube site, or his YouTube channel is probably the best way to put it. Um, and we have a lot of interests in common. And he has a book out now, which is absolutely outstanding. I still have not finished all of it, but I'm about halfway through it. It's um, bubble bubblegum apocalypse. Yeah, well, I'm not sober enough to say that correctly. Bubblegum Apocalypse Noir. That is the title. And Google that, buy a copy. It's highly recommended by me. It's excellent. Um, if you've ever watched Rob's Atomic Snack Bar channel, you already know his sense of humor, and it will be highly rewarding. Believe me. Um, he was kind enough to buy copies of some of my work, and he's saving that for summer beach reading. Although the bits that he perused without having to go all the way through it, he was highly complimentary on. But this is not one of those pay for play things. I actually enjoy his work. He's that good, not only on his YouTube, but in his written work, his sense of humor, his wit, his dry but not sarcastic delivery. It's well worth everybody's time of day. Um, let's see, what else can I? Who else can I plug here in a few minutes that I'm gonna keep going? Independent Creators Directory, indiecd.org, which is indiecd.org. And that is a listing of a plethora of independent creators of all kinds, uh, art, comics, jewelry, writing, music, podcasting. The range is pretty much bottomless, because every time somebody comes up with something new, Joe Bachman, the curator of the NDC and creator of the NDC network, um, adds whatever categories best describe someone's work. Um, it's quite a good way to find links to all of the different uh, works creations of the different members of the organization. It is $40 for a lifetime membership. And Joe Bachman does all the updates for you. You just have to email him and say, hey, this changed and this changed, and oh, this came out. And he will add everything in. It's also a blogging platform for each of the individual creators. I have not taken advantage of that because most of my blogging winds up being an Aphelion editorial. and those are difficult enough. They've been entirely too short lately. I need to go ahead and make them longer, but I do not give myself enough time from my day-to-day life to pay attention to, oh, I need to write an editorial. Um, let's see. Uh, oh, yes, yes. Rob needs a link. Let's see. I'll have to do that. And I'll have to start up Messenger. And Chris Walker is here, um, complimenting IndieCD.com. Um, and or not .com, .org. It's too much fun to be a .com, so we pretty much have to have it be a .org. Uh, now let me get. Oops, I think I just got an email of some kind, and it vanished entire into the ether. All right, there we go. And that gives R. Sterling the link. Believe me, my man, if you wanted to be a regular guest on any of these shows, we would add you to the messenger list post haste. Um, yeah, NDCD is a fine organization and it covers a wide variety of creativity. Word burning, uh, crafting with yarn, crafting with chainmail, crafting with wire and gemstones, um, my own humble contribution with music and with written word. Um, although I've been thinking there's some folks that might like to know um, how I do some of the leather work that I do. And here we go.
Evening.
Hey, how you doing, Rob?
Yeah, I've been trying to subtly get your attention for that's what FB meant Facebook. I think you're
Yeah.
just missing my.
Well, no, I had to go to Messenger to send you the link. I couldn't post it in Facebook. Otherwise, we'd get Russian bots out the wazoo.
Well, I mean, like several minutes ago when I posted FB in the chat, that meant check Facebook.
Oh, I can't check Facebook while I've got the live chat here going on the iPad and the show going on the desktop.
Mm. Oh, then how'd you send me the link just now?
I popped up the um, Messenger app on the desktop.
Ah, okay.
I am capable of multitasking, but I'm also capable of walking into a wall at full speed because I'm busy. Don't bother me with mere physics.
Man, I wanted to mention you were talking about the pronunciation thing a few minutes ago. That is one of the most common, I guess, trollish things I get on the channel. The pronunciation police. Man, they are vicious.
They can be. They can be.
And very
Uh
often they're wrong. That's the best time when they try to correct you incorrectly.
huh. Um, I've had people try and correct a pronunciation of words that I made up in an alien language that I made up in a story. I'm going,
Yes.
look, dude, it's phonetic. You can't figure that out? Go back and rejoin Hooked on Phonics, and you'll get it eventually. 4-year
Yeah.
olds can do it. You might be able to eventually.
Yeah, I'll tell you, when I did the obscure sci-fi robots of the 30s, 40s, and 50s, I had several people whining about my pronunciation of Bela Lugosi. But Bela is the proper pronunciation of the man's
Yes,
name.
it
It's
is.
not
Yes, it
Bella, it's
is.
Bela.
But people have gotten used to everyone over the decades pronouncing it Bella. So they think the actual, was he Romanian or
Hungarian.
Hungarian? Yes, because they don't know the actual pronunciation of his name. They think what everybody else has been mispronouncing for decades is the correct way. It ain't.
It just never occurred to me to like comment on someone's video, and that's usually the only thing they have to say. Nothing, anything else, just a pronunciation correction. That would just
Yeah,
never occur to
really.
me. Oh, I need to correct this fool.
Um, Language is one of those things where I am inclined to just let everybody use the voices in their head, whether they're correct or not, and ignore them because either I will alienate someone who could become a loyal viewer or a loyal listener, or it's some troll, and
Mhm.
I don't feed trolls.
Same, yeah. Yeah, but it's tempting at times because I can be kind of a jackass, but I just let it go. I just ignore it.
Well, no, I wouldn't classify you as a jackass. I would classify you as a highly entertaining um, raconteur. And raconteur is just a French word for storyteller.
Right. Oh, I appreciate that.
No, every Friday when you upload a video, I try and watch it before I do anything else that night.
I appreciate that as well. Because they say
And
that the first 12 hours, I think it is, of your video being up is the most important. When your regulars watch during that first time period, that's when YouTube knows to suggest it to other people.
well, I've got YouTube programmed to tell me as soon as you upload anything. However, I might be in the middle of something else from somebody else who I've given the same respect to, and
Mm.
theirs goes on a little bit. Um,
And it's the same time as the green room, too. So I understand.
well, no, it's usually about an hour before the green room,
Okay.
usually, but I might be in the middle of something that's um 90 minutes long, 2 hours long, whatever. And you know how much I am absolutely fascinated by the British canal boat community, and I'm subscribed to dozens of them,
Mm.
and it's not that they have precedence. It's just you uploaded your show while their show was going on.
Hey, it's fine with me. As long as it's in that first 12 hours, I'm good to go. It's all
Oh,
gravy.
I will spend endless time watching YouTube videos that my friends have uploaded. I try and never miss anybody that I'm subscribed to, even if it's in their case. I mean, in your case, it's always something I'm interested in, but in their case, it's something that I might have a lesser interest in. But they uploaded first, so seniority is a thing.
Yeah.
Um,
And jump it back a little bit, and you made a good point about the pronunciation thing, because you can show or often see when someone is well read, especially when they're well read with older literature. When
mhm.
there's these words that have just fallen out of the popular vernacular that you just have no idea how to pronounce, but you know the
Yes,
words
indeed.
very well.
Well, in my case, I know them from reading,
Exactly. Yeah.
but nobody uses them anymore. So I just have to go, well, This particular jumble of alphabet looks like it says this, and if I say it wrong, I am entirely happy to be corrected. Um, Not by mindless pedants, but by somebody that actually knows the words. Um,
Well, just it comes with the course of being a big Lovecraft fan. And
yes. Oh, I don't know how many pronunciations of Cthulhu I've heard in my lifetime. Um,
yeah, I stick with Cthulhu as well.
yeah, it seems to be the simplest, most accessible one. There are other of the elder gods that seem to have quite a few more consonants than vowels in their nomenclature.
Yeah, a little bit.
But that's all right. That's all right. And believe me, um, I have never been able to successfully pronounce all the Cthulhu chant.
Oh yeah, not
In
even close.
in
Not even close.
no, that's just um, there are only so many consonants you can run together without going. Wait a minute, I've got to learn Welsh for this.
Mhm.
Uh, 47 consonants and a vowel. That someone described Welsh that way to me, and I'm going. I've seen the street signs. Yes, that's accurate.
Yeah, I've probably asked this before, but I don't remember. The memory is not what it used to be. Favorite Lovecraft story?
Uh, at the Mountains of Madness.
It's a great one. It's classic.
And my second favorite, but it's really, really close. Uh, uh, oh, I can't remember the actual title. Uh, um, Shadow Out of Time.
Okay.
Yeah, that one really struck a chord with me. Matter of fact, I have used the Lovecraftian uh, description of those characters. The I can't remember exactly what he called them, the elder race, um, as a stand-in for the the native race in Forbidden Planet,
Oh, right.
the Krill.
Hmm.
They just struck me as being very, very similar in body types. Of course, they also resemble the aliens from the I believe it's Christopher White trilogy, the tripods trilogy,
I don't know that
and
one.
it's it's basically a aimed at precocious teenagers and young adults, uh, retelling of a homage to H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds. Um, it's really good. It's aimed at high school, college age readers, but it's paranoia inducing as well as not acknowledging that the tripods were uh, almost directly inspired by H.G. Wells' uh, Martian fighting machines. But it was written in such a way that it's perfectly obvious without breaking copyright rules.
Right.
And there was a BBC um dramatization series of all three books in the trilogy, and they were highly entertaining, but very 60s or 70s in their presentation.
Oh, well, you got me sold right there with 60s or 70s, particularly 60s.
Yeah, if you can look that up, it might be some on YouTube, um, but I think BritBox might have them. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not sure if I've got recordings of all of them on my huge external hard drive that I use to record all kinds of TV shows and movies and whatnot that I really do not want to ever lose for any reason, like going out of print. Um, but they're highly worthwhile at least once. I did watch them, I think maybe 3 times, but that was because it was uh, 3 different series to cover 3 different books, and I did not want to miss anything, and they were so widely spaced apart in time of presentation that I felt like it was worth my while to go back and refresh my memory of the individual actors portraying the characters and whatnot, so that I would really appreciate the whatever nuances were there.
Was it the same actors each time, or was it kind of a Quatermass type situation?
I think it was the same actors each time. They were only about a year apart, maybe
Okay,
at the
so not a
most
huge.
2 years.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and they were all young people, so
Oh,
it
young people.
well, in the 70s, uh, the characters were um, late teenagers. The actors were probably no older than 25, but were able to carry themselves as 18, 16, whatever. Um,
Yeah,
it
one of
was,
my favorite examples of that is in the original Blob when he makes the line about us kids. And
mm,
I think he was 28 at the time, but
I
looks
was
like
trying to say
48.
he's almost 20 years older than everybody else in the cast.
Mm.
But then again, that's one of the few uh, sci-fi slash horror movies that he ever did.
Yeah, now that you mention it, you're right.
Um,
Have you seen the Day of the Triffids miniseries from '81? I've heard really good things about it, but I haven't tracked it down yet.
no, I have not seen it, but I have seen the original movie, and
Oh yeah, the movie's great.
I have a copy of the is was it John Wyndham, the original novel.
Mhm.
What I liked about the original movie was that um, one of the actresses was also one of the uh, first actresses in Doctor Who back in the very, very early days. Um, and now I'm remembering the character's name from Doctor Who, but not the actress's name, which is highly unfortunate because everybody who's a Doctor Who fan would love for her to
Mm.
come back, if only to regenerate into a younger actress so that character can continue. Um, but let's see.
Yeah, Day of the
Carol Ann
Triffids.
Ford.
Okay.
Carol Ann
Yeah.
Ford. Um, I had to watch Day of the Triffids about 3 times before I got all the nuances. It was not perfectly clear that the meteor shower that blinded people did not plant the Triffids. The Triffids were being grown by um, a multinational corporation in order to try and be a replacement fuel source for internal combustion engines. Uh, it took me a long time to get that, even though it probably was much clearer in the novel. But then again, I don't remember the novel as well as I remember the movie. So,
They had a different origin in the novel. I'm forgetting what it was exactly, but it was different than in the film.
mm, it might have been in the novel they were actually spores that drifted down from the meteorites that were bright enough to blind people. Might have been. I can't testify to that. Uh, but
Yeah, I don't recall. But yeah, that one really just captured my imagination as a kid. I probably saw it at like 8 or 9 years old, somewhere around there. And just
hmm
that whole idea of it. Yeah, I really dug it.
it was the fact that Carolyn Ford was playing a blind girl that managed to evade the Triffids for a long, long time without being able to see them, just hearing and avoiding the noises. And you got to figure a plant that can uproot itself and walk along the ground and then
Mhm.
reroot itself has to make some distinctive noises.
Well, I've always been a fan of very non humanoid aliens. And especially back in the day, because the technology and the just skill to make a non humanoid shaped alien was a bit more difficult. So when they did and it worked, it really worked well.
Oh, I just watched this the other day. What was the one that it was a vengeful spirit and looked like a walking fiberglass tree trunk
Oh, you're
with
talking about the
very
Topanga
limited. Yeah,
from
yeah,
Hell It
that's the
Came?
one. Yeah, that's the one.
Oh, yeah, that's a lot
Uh,
of fun. Yeah.
oh, yeah, that was great. I've seen a lot of things that are on that level of special effects that were seriously the non-makeup characters carried the movie way beyond the capability of the uh, less than stellar special effects budget.
And what
Uh,
I always so appreciate about the Topanga is it's so grumpy looking. He doesn't necessarily look scary, but that's just a grumpy little face on that tree.
mm, he got a knife sticking halfway out of his chest, and he's not happy about it.
Yeah. Well,
And
one of my
then,
all-time favorites that I, bring up all the time, the monster that challenged the world.
oh,
That the effects in that one are just phenomenal. I mean, they
you're
hold up
you're
so
gonna have to
well.
you're gonna have to refresh my memory on that one. The title is familiar, but I don't remember the plot.
It's basically giant sea mollusks, but they're really creepy looking. They basically look like big skull-faced caterpillars.
Oh, okay, okay. I think I do remember that one. If I don't remember it correctly, I do need to watch it. Um,
Yeah, that's kind of my go-to when people are like, "Oh, 50 sci-fi. That it's cheesy. It's not scary." It's like, go look at that guy and tell me that he's not scary, or they're not scary because there's several of them.
there was one that struck me when I was just barely a teenager that showed up on Shock Theater. The Monolith Monsters.
Yeah. Hmm.
I love that, even though it's just basically rock crystals that fall on things.
It's really unique, though. It's really novel.
Yeah, it's not like the monster has any agenda or any intent whatsoever. It's just we're a rock. We grow, we fall over, we scatter seeds, we grow again.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there was another one that struck me as being extraordinarily silly. Um, but it concerned a rocket in order that was going so fast that it threatened to set Earth's atmosphere on fire.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
Uh, I'm probably not describing it quite as well as I should be, but it was not one of my favorite movies, but it was one that struck me as being really memorable.
Mm-hmm.
But
Really in the last 4 years or so, since the channel really took on the classic sci-fi theme, because it was a little more mixed back in the early days. I've
mhm.
seen so many classic sci-fi films and done so much research. It's like this big jumbly blur of 50 sci-fi in my brain right now. I can't remember what was in what half the time. And people
Oh
comment, "Oh, your knowledge is so good." I was like, "No, my research is good. My knowledge is nothing."
yeah. I'm just careful about what I say on the videos.
Mm. I'm 150 sci-fi factoid away from forgetting my phone number.
I've never been able to remember. I can remember my parents' phone number from when I was a teenager.
Mm.
I cannot remember my cell phone number. Um, I have it written down somewhere. Uh,
Mm.
I have to pull out that post-it note whenever somebody goes, "Oh, you want us to use your house phone?" And I go, "No, use my cell phone number. Otherwise, you'll get the answering machine because we never answer the house phone unless it's something we actually recognize right away."
Yeah.
Uh, hmm.
We haven't spoken since the con, and I'm sure you've talked about it a lot on the streams, but I haven't heard about it. How was the con? What was it, last weekend?
It was the weekend before Halloween, and
Right. Okay. Yeah.
it went really really well. Um, I managed to sell, I think, 6 or 8 books. My wife learned how to use the square card reader that we had gotten, and she sold. Oh, I think she made almost $500 off of her vendor's table,
Oh,
and
very nice.
it's mostly antiques and kitsch and really cute stuff and children's books. I don't think she sold very many um, vintage clothes. I don't think she took that many because she knew from the year before that's not the best selling items, but um, cute stuff and tea stuff because she's British. She had a preponderance of um, tea in sealed tins and whatnot. To damn near $500 she made. So,
And what did you say the theme of that con was? Because I can never quite get a grasp on what it's all about.
well, it's Hallowcon, so it is mostly horror, a dash of sci-fi, a little bit of fantasy, and mostly just a party amongst uh, friends and family you didn't know that you needed or had.
That's the sign of a good con right there.
It's pretty much like a family reunion you never knew you needed to go to.
Yeah, it reminded me of some Dragon Cons
Mm.
back in the 90s. Oh, I had some good times at some Dragon Cons.
Yeah, I kind of regret I will never be able to go to a Dragon Con because there's just too many people. I
Yeah, I
do
hear it's
have
gotten really big.
I do have a fear of crowds that I have to overcome in public. It makes Christmas shopping really uh, a challenge for me because I just too many elbows, too many people that don't know how to use a grocery cart. Uh, uh, and Dragon Con has gotten to be a uh, almost a MediaCon, Comic Con light.
Yeah, I hear it's not what it used to be, and I haven't been since 2004, so I don't even know what it's like.
It's gotten a whole lot more crowded. Now I know people that go and they have a great time, but I also know their personality. They're focused on I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this. I do not want to stand in line. So they figure out how to make it work for them.
Mhm.
For me, it's just too many people in too small a space, even though it actually takes up 4 entire hotels in Atlanta.
Oh, it has
Uh,
grown. Wow.
yeah. Um, let's see. Last time I looked at the stats, it was like 60,000 people
Mm.
at this convention. And I'm going, I don't even live near a city that has that many. Not even with the University of Georgia, if you want to count the students. Um, and it's just one of my friends who has agoraphobia has put it like this: "It's too peoply for me.
Very
There's
well
just
put.
there's too many people there, and
Mm.
they're all um, they're concentrating on their weekend and their experiences, and there are a decided lack of, shall we say, traditional Southern
Mm.
manners. Um,
Yeah. Well,
but then
that's Atlanta
again,
for you.
well, yeah, it is Atlanta, and I used to drive to Atlanta or ride to Atlanta in rush hour traffic on a motorcycle and go to bookstores and whatnot. And I would make an event of it and go to a special restaurant and have this meal that I couldn't get back in Athens. And it was great. It was great. And then now I navigate an extra 30, 45 minutes of my drive towards Chattanooga to keep from having to go through Atlanta because the traffic is just so horrible.
For sure. I mean, even back in the day, like I said, late 90s, early 2000s, when I was going to Atlanta a lot, it would get to the point where the traffic would just stop and you just put your car in park and just have to just sit there and wait. I lived in LA for 15 years and traffic was bad, but it was never like what I would see in Atlanta.
Mm, that's probably because people in Atlanta don't know how to drive.
Mm-hmm.
Um, However, I will say, without prejudice, Raleigh, Durham, I think it's North Carolina, is much worse and Knoxville just before the World's Fair was marginally worse than today's Atlanta. And the one time, well, no, the two times I went on the Washington, D.C. Beltway, I'm just going, I'm glad I learned how to drive in Knoxville and Atlanta because these people are crazy. I was on my way to Pennsylvania to visit a college friend and his wife, who was also a friend from college. Yeah, and that was a special time. I managed to get home safely, but I will say the DC Beltway in a snowstorm is not one of the best roads to be on.
No, it doesn't sound like it. Well, that was the thing in LA is the traffic was usually pretty heavy, but it always moved, so kind of just slow. So I just got real not used to driving in fast with cars zipping around me. I'm not a very aggressive driver. I'm real mellow behind the wheel. And so when I get down here to Florida drivers drive so fast and they're always just zipping by me like I'm not moving at all. I feel my car shake. They fly by me so quickly.
Well, it's either that or they thump a stereo that they've got. We have people drive by the house here. They rattle the windows from. Well, it starts rattling the windows at half a mile, and the road is only 35, 40 yards up my driveway.
Yeah, we get that too. Man, there's going to be some hearing loss in the next couple of years, really.
I know, but some of them actually have good taste in that style of music. It's just I would not play that loud. It's not like it was Led Zeppelin, you know?
Right. Well, yeah, that's what I always say is like the people who play their music the loudest, it's usually the people with the worst taste. Like you never hear really good music. Like I've never hear anyone driving down the street blaring Martin Denny or Arthur Lyman or something to that effect.
Yeah, and back in the 70s, you could drive around and people were playing Love Tractor and REM and B-52s and whatnot, and it was cranked. But then other people would be playing Frank Zappa and Alice Cooper and whatnot. And they would be cranked up that loud. It's like we want it loud, but we don't want the neighborhood to know what we're listening to.
Those were the days.
Yeah.
So growing up where you grew up, where was the vacation spot that you went each year? Like, just because train of thought made me think of that because booming cars at the beach, et cetera, bro. Where was your yearly vacation spot?
One of my best friends from work was really enamored of Panama City Beach.
Oh, yeah, that was mine. Every summer for pretty much 30-something years.
I love the haunted house in the amusement park. I absolutely love that. I copied the layout of it for some of my stories. I had a very dark blue nylon jacket with white stitching, and I would stand in one of the doorways that had the hidden door, that had black lights in it, so all the stitching glowed, but nobody could see me. They'll open the door, and I go, "Hiya," and they would just scream like teenage children, which they were. Um,
Yeah, I missed out on that one. Yeah, I don't do thrill rides, so we didn't go to the amusement park often. But yeah, I just managed to miss that one, even though we did go to Miracle Strip a few times.
well, the haunted house wasn't a ride; it was a walkthrough.
Oh well, I was when I was a kid, even though I loved that kind of stuff, I was still kind of a chicken liver. I didn't really do haunted houses till I got a little older. And then by the time I got
Oh,
old enough to do it, it was one of those things. It was a separate ticket attraction. I just don't want to pay for it.
oh, this one, they had a fireplace, which was a concealed door to an inner room.
That's cool.
They had a dungeon with like 13 to 15 doors, and some of them, if you went through them, they led to another door in
Mhm.
the same room, and some of them were just a closet. And one went on to the rest of the haunted house. There was a balcony that was up on, I believe, the third floor, and you could walk out on it and you look over the balcony, you could see the people going through 2 floors below, and then you got close to the edge, and it would drop about a foot
Oh
before it hit
wow,
the safety stops. So it felt like the
Mhm.
balcony was dropping off the wall with you
Fantastic.
on it. That was a jump scare right there.
If you
Uh,
remember too, there was a freestanding haunted house as well. Even though I was real small when it closed down, way too little to even consider going to a haunted house. But yeah, right there on the strip, there was like a freestanding one that I remember driving by it and seeing a guy in a Frankenstein's monster costume outside and thinking it looked so cool.
oh, I don't remember that. I probably was not going there in the right years to see it.
It would have been early '80s. So
Oh no, I was going in the late 70s.
okay.
So,
You know, another cool thing in Miracle Strip was that giant Satan head. I never went in to did the ride because, like I said, I don't do thrill rides, but it was just that gigantic devil head that you walked in the mouth. Do you remember that?
no, I don't. No, I don't.
It was really like a good, classic style, kind of fun looking Satan. And it was like a giant head, and you just walked in his mouth. I think you walked up his tongue, if I remember correctly. And for years, even after Miracle Strip closed down, that guy was still sitting there in that parking lot. You could just drive by the closed down strip and see him sitting there. Very cool.
Hmm. I do remember the 3-tier roller coaster. It was basically a figure eight that instead of just being around in an eight, it would go up and down in between the different levels. That got me used to roller coasters enough to where I could handle the Scream Machine in Six Flags Over Georgia in Atlanta.
Hmm.
Uh, Now, the other place that I went to, I did not get introduced to until I was with my second wife. She was very, very fond of Daytona Beach.
Okay.
And we'd go down there and get a very cheap hotel, basically a motel, and just have a great time. I actually got to see a rocket launch from Canaveral
Uh,
from the
very.
beach, and
That's
I'm
neat.
going, holy, yeah, this is once in a lifetime. I'm getting to see a rocket go up live without having to pay tickets to go to
Hmm.
Kennedy. Um, and the restaurants were excellent. The bars were a little bit more than reasonably priced, but not too unreasonably priced. And the hotels were extraordinarily clean, but they were definitely uh, from decades earlier and had survived hurricanes.
Mm-hmm.
So, it was fun, and I kind of missed those days. And I just found out that my mom and dad used to go to Daytona, and I have no memory of that at all. So I assume that was from before I was born. So I don't know. They tell me that they took me on a boat over to the Canadian side of Lake Michigan, and I'm going, I was in diapers. How am I supposed to remember that? My memory didn't start working until I was 3. So,
Yeah, that
hey,
sounds about right. For example, my very first movie I ever saw in the theater was Jaws 2, but I was just a baby. I mean, literally a baby.
oh Lord. Um,
And my
that just
dad took
re
me to see The Creature from the Black Lagoon in 3D when I was 3 years old. I don't remember it, but
Oh,
I know it warped my little mind.
I started to say that's why you're so warped in 3D as well. Okay.
That did it. That I think that's what turned me into a monster kid, and it forever shaped the path I would take.
Mm. I think for me was finding out that Godzilla and I share a birthday, but Godzilla is 3 years older than I am.
Right. Okay. I didn't realize it was the same day, but yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Now, let's see. It was Godzilla 1954, the original Japanese, and Sputnik 2, almost the same minute I was born. And I think my life was set in stone after those 2 events.
That'll do it.
Grant Lakard, hello, and please call Clown Pants Rob. Um,
Yeah. Clown Pants is my father. I'm just wrong.
and please do go buy his book because it's really good.
I
Like I
appreciate
said,
that.
I am still only about halfway through it, but I'm not getting much time to read print right now. Although, if my wife keeps having to go to the chiropractor, I'm going to get a lot of time to read ebooks.
I think you're going to enjoy. I have a Lovecraft style story in there that takes place in Georgia, so I think you might get a kick out of that.
Oh, yeah, I will. Believe me.
But it's my take on Lovecraft, so I'm sure you get understand what that means.
Yeah, I've done the same myself. Um, and I have a friend up in, is it Illinois or is it Indiana? I can't remember which state. It's one of those I states. They're right next to each other. He swears I am one of the old gods of Appalachia
Mm-hmm.
because when I put on the Smoky Mountain accent from East Tennessee, it just gets kind of intense. I have written a story because his opinion, and I did an audio of it that I was reading myself, and I put it on my YouTube channel.
I'll listen to that.
Oh, I think that's one of the best things I've ever done.
I quite enjoyed it.
Mostly because of the accent was so true to what I grew up listening to people talk like. The story makes me out to be much more of a hero than I actually am, but I can live with that as long as the Avengers don't try and recruit me.
You're too good
Thor,
for
Loki, behave, boys. This
them.
is your daddy talking.
I'd like to see you do more of that.
I would like to. I wrote another one, but it was very niche, and I didn't feel like narrating it. There's one I started that uses Cherokee mythology and flying saucer mythology,
Can't go wrong there.
and I think it also would have featured a Sasquatch or two that was not a beast, but an intelligent person. And I got partway into it and I'm going, I'm not doing enough research to do this justice. I'm going to put this one on hold.
Something I think I've asked before, but I've forgotten, so I'm going to ask again. The zine. Have you ever done any print versions, kind of like a best of sort of deal?
We have done an online best of every December and an online best of the first decade, the second decade. But print we have not done. It
You
would
should
be
consider it because I'd really dig that because I don't read online. I'm just one of those people. I need a book in front of me. I need paper and pages and all that good stuff. And I'd love to check it out.
I would love to do it, but the expense considering um there'd be a lot of rights issues getting permission to use everybody else's stories.
That's a good point.
Um, we'd have to be able to get in touch with writers that have not communicated with us for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, these are definitely best of, but if you don't give us permission, we can't use it. And that's kind of been a disappointment, but I really understand because people's lives change, they move on, and sometimes they give up writing fiction and go on to become an accountant or a banker or a history teacher or whatever.
Yeah, I didn't consider the rights issue.
Hmm.
When you do the zine itself, do you get some kind of rights with that? I'm assuming it's different rights.
Um, what the zine uses is usually, unless it's a reprint of some previous appearance, it's usually first electronic publication rights.
Okay.
And the writers retain everything else. The only reason we have to use that is that's the only way to make it legal. We are usually publishing their work for the first time in an electronic media, so that gets rid of the first electronic publication rights. If it's a reprint of something that somebody else had in a magazine, then it's using the second electronic publication rights. And as I said, the writers have all the rest of the rights for themselves. We don't make any claim off of it. Aphelion doesn't try and make money. As long as I'm alive, Aphelion is not here to make money. It's here to provide the world with brand new professional writers
A noble
and give the
cause.
world a glimpse of their learning process of how they went from, oh, this first thing I ever wrote to, hey, I'm really proud of this, and somebody wanted to pay me for it. You know, that's when we actually get an email from a writer that sold something. It's both the best and the worst day of my life. The best day, we've given the world another professional writer. The worst day, we will never get another story from that writer again.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
but
how's my buddy Tom Darby doing? We'll be hearing more about
um,
him anytime soon.
I have actually got a Tom Darby story in this month's Aphelion.
Oh, well. Hmm.
Uh, the book this story is taken from has not yet hit print, and if it doesn't, in a reasonable time frame, I will indie publish it.
Okay.
I am. I turned this book and another one in to my publisher in 2019, and they
Wow.
have still not seen the light of day. I will hire an editor, or two editors actually. I will hire a cover artist, and I will put it out independently. There's another one that has already had, because it is part of a shared universe series, but I got full rights to use it because the series creators are not going to ever do anything with the series. But I have this full novel, almost 70,000 words, and it was written as a framing novel for something they wanted to do. It was a very exciting project. I was very glad to be part of it. It had every other writer in the series looking over my shoulder every time I posted an update and giving me editorial comments. So it's got almost 20 editors, if not
Hmm.
more, by this point. Now I'm going, this is one of the best things I ever wrote. It's science fiction, it's hard science, it's romance, and it's adventure. Um, I'm ticking off all the boxes. Why can't I get this thing published? Well, it was part of a shared universe that it wasn't until last year. No, it wasn't until 2019 that the series creators said, "Look, we're not going to do anything with this. You go ahead and publish it." I'm going, "Thank you. I'm glad I've got this in writing." Um,
Are the Tom Darby stories set in the same universe as the Spaceport Bar stories?
they overlap, but they're not necessarily in the same timeline.
Got it.
Uh, I would I would like for them to be exactly in the same universe as the Spaceport Bar stories, but the Spaceport Bar right now has 3 to 5 alternate timelines because people have written stories that do not conform to my continuity or do not conform to my um, character outlines, but they're really good stories and I can't just throw them away.
Right.
So I go, okay, executive decision, alternate timeline,
Mm.
here you go.
Well, you even touched on that a bit in Abducted. There was the mentions of the different timelines and
Yeah,
the King Arthur reference.
yes, indeed. There was no way to know whether the um, humanoid villain was actually uh, King Arthur's illegitimate son by his sister, or if it was just some crazy dude with a delusion
I liked that.
that
Yeah.
his mother instilled in him. Oh, Chris, you have no idea. And good night, Grant. Missed that one, but yeah, I've been saying that for years. Rob and Skunk would have long conversations about old movies and classic movies, and although Skunk pretty much specializes in horror movies, and as far as I can tell, Rob is not as specialized in horror, but kind of sci-fi and classic, mm, hard to genre
Mm.
movies. Um,
Yeah, I mean, that's about right. And especially when it comes to the channel, if there is some overlap, it still has to be more sci-fi than it is horror.
yep, Skunk has a channel about different horror movies, but he's much younger than we are, so he's concentrating on things um, post Freddy Krueger
Okay, yeah,
sort
so
of thing.
not my scene at all.
No. You and I are into the antiques,
Mm.
and I believe I'm pretty much specialized in the sci-fi genre, and I don't have that much interest in horror, but if it's well done, I'll watch it. I may not recommend it to many people,
Mhm.
but I will watch it and I will appreciate it for what it's worth. Um, there are Lovecraft movies. There's one Dean Stockwell was in. It was um, a
Dunwich Horror.
re yeah, a retelling of Dunwich Horror,
Mhm.
and it was kind of, oh, do you have to be tripping on acid to watch this one or
Yeah,
what?
yeah, it's pretty trippy. And there were a lot of great Lovecraft movies in the 80s, but they were so far removed from actual Lovecraft. It's like, so we have Lovecraft, this deep psychological kind of stuff. And in the 80s was like, let's just make them super sleazy and throw in a dominatrix or two. They're
Hey,
good, but they're just so far out there.
all we need is a monster with tentacles and some women without brassieres,
Mhm.
and we're good to go. Um, which I'm proud to say was not exactly the case with Reanimator, but there were a few instances
Mhm.
in there too.
You ever seen Dagon from the early 90s? Even though it's not an adaptation of Dagon, it's Shadow over Innsmouth, but by Stuart Gordon.
I have not seen it. I have not seen it. I probably should.
That one is quite good.
Um, Shadow out of Innsmouth was one of those things that was one of my favorite stories. Um, as I said, my favorite Lovecraft story was At the Mountains of Madness. My second favorite was Shadow Out of Time,
Mhm.
but there's room for everything in there. Um, and I have been accused of writing in purple prose like Lovecraft, and I go, thank you. Uh, I don't know why you consider that to be pejorative, but you know, it's atmospheric. It's purple prose for a reason.
Right.
It's not purple prose because I don't know how to write any other way.
One of my favorites, probably my second favorite, is Imprisoned with the Pharaohs. I'm a big fan of
Oh,
that.
that was the one that he Ghost wrote for Harry
Houdini.
Houdini.
Yep.
That was a very good one. Yeah, I have that collection of um, Lovecraft co-writing with other people. There's a couple of really disturbing ones in there. There was one with the snake goddess. I can't remember because I did not want to remember. But
Yeah, I really liked that little time when him and Robert Bloch were going back and forth. And like one would write a story, and then the next one would kind of continue it. And so, that was a lot of fun.
yeah, those you have to read them in order though.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, I killed off Robert Bloch, and next story, Robert Bloch kills off Lovecraft. Um, hey, that was part of being one of the literary circle that he sent out letters to and responded to letters from. That was a weird time, but they were weird tales.
Unpopular thing to say, but I actually dig August, and I'm not sure how to pronounce his name because I never heard it pronounced out loud. Derleth.
I best I can say is it seems to be Der Leaf.
Okay, well, Durley. Yeah, I like his writing. A lot of
Oh
Lovecraft people
yeah,
kind of look
yeah.
negatively on him, but I like his writing, and he helped keep Lovecraft's work alive. I don't
Well,
think we would have Lovecraft like
he
we do
actually
without
got
him.
Lovecraft popularized more in the 70s because he had been keeping it alive. Um, Derleith took fragmentary notes from Lovecraft stories that Lovecraft just lost interest in and never finished and turned them into completed works, which was not necessarily what Lovecraft intended, but it was Lovecraft flavored. And he also was the owner of Arkham Press,
Right.
which kept Lovecraft stories as well as his own in print for decades while we waited for the wilderness years to be over and the 1970s college students go, oh, wow, these are cool monsters. I love this. Let me buy some more.
Yep.
And basically, he had a garage full of books that he had got from a vanity press and just waited until they sold out and then bought another load and waited until they sold out and bought another load. It was a vanity press. It was not an indie press. It was, I will print whatever you send me without any editorial stuff whatsoever. Just pay us, and you have this minimum number of copies you have to buy. And Durley said, just go, ship me another 10,000. And they go, cha-ching! And then he'd actually make a profit off of how many copies sat in his garage for years. And then finally somebody bought. That was the beginning of Arkham Press. Just books and boxes sitting in his garage till somebody bought them. He eventually cleaned out the garage entirely.
Yeah, I mean, we really owe him a lot. And I've been meaning to dig in and actually read some of his full length novels. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. So many books, so little time.
Mm. There are other Lovecraft writers that I found really worthwhile over the years. I can't remember all of them now.
Well, I first discovered Philip Jose Farmer, pretty much my favorite writer, through a collection of Lovecraft stories. And he'd written that story, The Freshman.
Farmer was one of the people that took multitasking to a new level.
Mm-hmm.
And I really appreciate that because I am very, very much in the Wold Newton family camp of dropping literary references in every story that I possibly can.
Same here. Shoot, I mean, Mr. Farmer actually has a cameo. You just probably haven't gotten there yet, but he actually has a cameo in my book.
Yeah, I haven't gotten that far yet, but like I said, I'm about halfway through. But
yeah, because I really thought it was cool in Blown how he took Forrest J. Ackerman and actually made him kind of the lead of that story. If you ever read, it's the sequel to Image of the Beast. Really good.
Yeah, Forey is one of those forces of nature, or was. Sorry, he's no longer with us, but then he'd been at it for a long time. What he couldn't preserve, he pretty much publicized so that if anybody had the chance, they'd figure out, hey, this needs to be bought and saved. He did fall victim to what amounts to a con man who took over Famous Monsters and turned it into his own little soapbox instead of Forey's, and actually tried to take possession of the Acker Mansion and everything inside.
Oh.
And thankfully, the heirs did not allow this to happen. But in print, Famous Monsters went downhill when this idiot took over.
Whenabouts would that have been?
Mid 80s, maybe almost into the 90s. Depends on when Forey died.
Okay.
But it was a few years before he passed away that this con man ingratiated himself and started taking over Famous Monsters. If you can spot a point where Famous Monsters went downhill rapidly, that would be it.
Yeah, he died in 2008.
I'd say about 2004, 2005.
Okay.
That's just a guess. But let me see here. I've got oh, well, we've been going for about an hour and 40 minutes. That's better than I thought. I thought I'd be having a 5-minute show before you popped in and everybody in the comments popped in. So I'm quite happy. Thank you very much for being here.
That's good to be back. You know, I can't always sync it up, but I was about tonight.
Well, a lot of people might complain about, hey, what's he look like? Where's his camera? And I'm going, idiot. No one needs cameras as long as their voice comes through on the recording.
But I'm right there on camera. You can see me.
The funny clown. Yeah.
I'm just hanging out in that box.
Not the green room. Not the green room. Not the green room.
Know where that's going.
Don't give me straight lines because I will really get racy. And that's because my friends know me well enough to be comfortable with a very adult and sarcastic sense of humor. And those are not the same thing, but they are intimately entwined, which sounds like a green room comment.
Yeah, one of these days, if there's a time when I say don't have a video on a Friday night, which would be very rare occurrence, I won't be there.
Well, like I said, your uploads are usually an hour, maybe 90 minutes before green room time. And it's not set on a schedule. Anybody can join at any time as long as you get there before everybody else nods off.
Mhm.
Um, it's fun, but it is no holds barred, no rules. You can't, well, no. The one rule is you can't get offended if somebody says something tasteless. You got to let it slide and appreciate the intended humor, if not the actual humor. Um,
Yeah, I'm pretty tough to offend, so
well, you hang out with me. Uh,
hang out long enough. You'll get me one of these days.
oh, Lord. Oh, okay. Joe Dog says Green Room starts at 8 Eastern and goes at least until 11 or 12 Eastern. Uh, it has been known to go on longer. It has been known to start later. It just depends. The hosts are Uncle Carl and Aunt Donna, but it's on Discord, so you can show up whenever you want to. You can be there for days waiting on everybody else to show up. But it's kind of boring to do that.
Yeah, I'd say one of the best things about slithering my way into this last man standing scene is getting to know Uncle Carl. That's a fine
Oh,
gentleman right there.
he is an absolute freaking genius. Um,
He is what I would call a delight.
he is very appreciative of the plus size female form. He is also an expert on the OBS program. He is also an expert on Munzie, which is basically Pokemon for grown-ups, um, and so many other things. But I would class him as a philosopher and started to say pedant, and he would really rip me a new one for that. But um, basically, he is a very kind person who writes a few very, very well researched books that will raise your eyebrows and does cover art for several other people. And um, his wife, Donna Carlene, is a very prolific writer with a bunch of books still unpublished because she'd been writing them since she was much younger, and now she's mature.
I was going to say, we should probably stop that conversation right there.
Hey, I was going to say really late 20s, but no,
Yeah,
I know
that's it.
she and I have the same birthday month, and she's just a hair older than me. No, she's got a fascinating range of styles of fiction she writes. Some of them are mysteries, some of them are um, rather adult, and some of them are about halfway in between. Uh, Look up her on Amazon, and no, well, yeah, most of her stuff is on um, Lulu.com, but there are links to it on Amazon. But if you buy it from Lulu, Amazon doesn't get a cut. So yeah, there is that. They tag team a lot of stuff basically. Editing, cover art. Well, I would say not cover art so much as cover design on Carl's part. He will look up artwork that is in public domain or the particular writer has bought the rights to, and then do all the background stuff and the coloring and shading and um, text and whatnot to get it ready for publication in print or ebook or whatnot. And
What's a good place to start with her writing?
Oh, um, depends on what your interests are. She has a mystery series that is very good. She has a very adult sort of thing that is basically um, memoirs of people who attended the original Woodstock. Um, if you're interested in the mysteries, oh, bugger, you put me on the spot. I can't remember the names of the books, but it's the Hunter's Ridge series. So it's stuff that's set in Appalachia, but it's unsolved mysteries and whatnot that her detective character and I think one other character dives into and tries to solve, and uh, usually they are successful. Um Woodstock Dreams is one of the first of the really adult themed, but she
Carl worked
writes.
on that one too, right?
Um, he did some editing and the cover layout,
Okay.
but like I said, Donna's got entire boxes full of old manuscripts that she didn't ever bother to get published until she and Carl got married, and Carl talked her into going to Lulu and go, "Hey, here's a book."
Mm.
And it's worked out famously ever since. She's a very good writer. So is Carl. Carl's stuff is usually things like The Somerton Man. He's working on one about D.B. Cooper right now. Uh, there was another one that was earlier, and why can't I remember it? I don't know. But it's basically uh, historical unsolved mysteries that he has researched and researched and researched and go, okay, this is not any attempt to be absolutely factual, but this is a good story based on the research that I have done. Very entertaining. Um, when I got a copy of his Somerton Man, the fellow that was discovered deceased on an Australian beach back shortly after World War II, his retelling of that is not only extremely logical but extremely entertaining, and he quotes extensively from lots of his research, including me retelling one of my wife's father's World War II war stories about having a tank blown out from under him.
Is that available now? Is that something that's out
Oh,
already?
it's out. It's been out for quite a while. Uh,
And what's it called?
it's uh, I think it's called the Somerton Man, but I'm not sure. But it would be by Carl Whitzman, and it would be first available on Lulu, and secondly available on Amazon. And it'd probably be cheaper on Lulu because Amazon got to have their cut of the pie every time.
Yeah, I'll look into it. It sounds interesting.
He's not finished with the D.B. Cooper book yet. He also has 2 books about the Mad Gasser of Mattoon County.
Yeah, I've run across that one.
Yep. Those disturb me, but he did a lot of research that I've got to recognize for the skill.
Well, speaking of people disappearing and disturbing, I probably need to hit the road myself and get back to doing some video editing or video work.
Well, I probably need to end the episode and clock out myself. So this
Well, I
seems
appreciate you
like
having me, pal. It was good talking to
Oh,
you again.
you are welcome anytime. Believe me, on my show or Stupid O'Clock. If you can get Joe Dog to let you get a word in edgewise.
Or if I can ever get him to remember me. He seems to have R. Sterlingnesia or something because every single time he's like, "Who's that?"
That's because he doesn't subscribe to your channel and watch your shows like I do. Once you subscribe and watch, you cannot forget Mr. Sterling. He is indelibly embedded in your memory. And which is
They make medicine for that now, though, so I think people will be all right.
Really? I thought Quaaludes were out of style. I'm sorry, 70s joke.
Good stuff.
Oh Lord. Let me see which. Oh, there we go. Wait a minute. Now, if we could only make Joe Dog do a look orbit launch with his own personal methane and do Zach to the coverage and said, I'm still not going to watch that. I'm sorry, Chris, but there's only so many Joe Dog fart jokes I can put up with. And usually I've run out by the end of Hallowcon. But these things, they happen. How long has I been going here? Oh yeah, I'm right at 2 hours, so that's great. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
We have managed to stretch this from being 5 minutes to 2 hours. So I am very grateful for you being here. I'm very grateful for everybody that was in the comments section. And we'll say good night.
You're not all.
And you go do your editing, and I will watch the results when you upload them.
All right. Thanks again, pal.
Oh, you're entirely too welcome. I love your work.
Thank you much.
Well, folks, this was unexpectedly almost the entire runtime of a normal show. But thank you very much for commenting. Thank you very much for watching. And thank you very much for watching the reruns later. And right now, I will run the bedtime story and maybe a commercial, but I've already done most of them. So I don't have room to upload indie CD authors and craftspeople commercials to this channel. And we may have to stop using it in 3 months anyway, because StreamYard is a greedy gut and they're going to raise their prices by 150%, if not more. But we shall see you anon.
Oh, son of a gun. You thought I was going to say son of a bitch, didn't you?
Transmission overload.
System will shut down.
Transmission overload.
System will shut down.
Transmission overload.
System will shut down. System will shut down. System will shut down.